Hey, do you have a fireplace and you don't want it to look lame and you don't want to be lame? Well, I'm gonna give you a couple very basic tips so that you can keep your fireplace looking really cool and running really hot. Let's get into it real quick. So, when it comes to cleaning your fireplace, there's some very basic things you can do to make it easy, and I'm gonna show you. The 3 basic things you can do to keep your fireplace looking good and maintained pretty well is clean the glass, vacuum it out, and clean your pilot assembly. So I'm gonna kind of go through 3 very quickly. In other videos, we'll get really into detail on how we do certain things. But I'm just gonna show you those 3 basic tips and an easy way to go about them. Honestly, if you just do those 3 things, your fireplace will run better, it'll look cleaner, and it just solves a whole lot of problems in the long run. It's like getting the oil changed in your car. Take 30 minutes, do this, you'll be very happy in the long run. So the first thing we do is, I've already got the screen and the glass removed, but you wanna clean the glass. So a lot of times you're gonna get like a little bit of a haze. Sometimes it's white, and that's just some of the chemicals coming off of the fireplace. Sometimes it might be a little black. That might be a little bit of soot buildup depending on whether you're using propane or natural gas. So essentially, the easiest way to do it is before you put everything back together, clean the inside of the glass, put the glass back on, and then you'll go ahead and clean the outside of that glass. Basically what that does is it keeps you from getting fingerprints all over the place, and so when you step away, everything's perfect. The most important thing to keep in mind is what you're using to clean the glass. Do not use a typical window cleaner like Windex or anything like that. The most important thing is to use a glass cleaner that's ammonia free. If you use something that has ammonia in it, it's basically gonna scar the glass when you fire that fireplace up and it gets hot. You're gonna see streaks and scarring on that glass. So be very careful and be very conscientious about using ammonia free glass cleaner. A lot of times if you even have a gas stove that you cook on, that glass cleaner that you use for that, the wipe on stuff, you can use that too because that stuff is typically ammonia free. But that's the biggest key when you're cleaning your glass. The other thing that you can do is very simply, if you just take a vacuum with a car cleaning attachment and you just get in here and just be gentle with the wires and just use some common sense, but just getting your vacuum in here, getting any dust that accumulates over the year. Typically, a lot of fireplaces will have a fan sitting down there. So if you can rotate those fins on the fan a little bit and just vacuum that out a little bit, it's a 5-minute task. What that does is when it comes time to fire up your fireplace in the beginning of wintertime, you don't get a lot of those goofy, dusty smells and stuff like that. It's a lot less offensive. So basically covers a lot of sins of just having it smell a little fresher when you start it up. And then the final thing I would tell you guys to do is simply cleaning the pilot assembly, which is a very simple task and you shouldn't be intimidated by it. So before you get into a pilot assembly, the one thing I am gonna tell you is your logs need to sit in a specific spot. So if you have access to the manual, if not, make sure you take a photo. These logs are designed to be in a very specific location on the burner. Sometimes people want to rearrange them and make them look prettier, but what happens is it messes with the combustion. So very simply put, make sure the logs go in the exact same spot. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove a couple of these logs. So what happens is on a pilot assembly, there's typically a flame sensor or a thermocoupler. And when those get hot enough from the pilot light, that'll tell the valve to open up all the way so that your flame turns on. But if you have a lot of contaminants on there and it just can't quite get hot enough to send that signal to the valve, you simply just need to use like a $1 bill. Now, we're gonna use a $1 bill today. I typically use $100 bills, but whatever. You don't need anything real abrasive like sandpaper. This has just enough grit on it that if you get in there and you basically scratch or just use it to kind of polish the different components down there, that's all you really need to do to get some of those contaminants off of there, and that'll basically extend the life or the service life of your fireplace for several years. So you can see with just a couple of about 30 to 45 seconds of elbow grease, we've removed about 95% of that white buildup. And what that does is it cleans up those sensors so that it can send a signal back to the valve and make your burner turn on a little bit easier. Simply put, those 3 steps of vacuuming out your fireplace, cleaning your pilot assembly, and keeping your glass clean. If you can do that once a year, twice a year, you're really going to help with the aesthetics and the appeal of just the visual of your fireplace, but also help the functionality with it. And then you can also add a few years to the life of your fireplace, or at least the components in it, so that maybe a pilot assembly that went bad, seems like it's going bad, we could probably get it to run for another 2 or 3 years by just making sure it stays clean. Hey, thank you very much for watching. We appreciate you guys watching. So pay attention for more content. Please give us some input. Give us ideas of other videos or information you'd like to see. So thanks again for visiting Flatirons Fire.